Hello, world. Looking for inspiration? You've come to the right place. Warmest welcome to World Humanitarian Drive's 12th episode of Inspiring Millions Show. This is the show where we feature brilliant minds from around the world to share with us their story, one story at a time. Today, our special guest is Mr. Robin Marsh, Secretary General of Universal Peace Federation, UK. We'll get to know his inspiring story in a short while. Thank you for joining us live or in replay. I'm Vivandrada O'Flynn, your host and Global Media Relations of World Humanitarian Drive. World Humanitarian Drive, also known as WHD, is an international NGO with operations in 12 countries, founded in Croydon, UK by British Indian global peace activist, entrepreneur, writer, Dr. Abdul Basit Saeed. The primary vision of WHD is to promote peace, education, and trade harmony initiatives globally among everyone across the world, regardless of race, gender, religion, or nationality, living as one family. WHD's partnership organization, Universal Peace Federation, holds a general consultative status with the United Nations Economic and Social Council. It is the highest status granted to a non-governmental organization, which allows them to facilitate with the United Nations. On this Inspiring Millions show, we encourage you to engage with us. Please help us spread inspiration by sharing this link. We would love to hear from you. Put your questions that you would like to ask our honorable guest, Mr. Robin Marsh, Secretary General of Universal Peace Federation UK, or comments that you have for us in the chat box. He'll read them later on in the show. Let us also know where you are watching this. Wherever you are in the world, let us keep you company and brighten your day as we share peace, love, and goodwill. For today's episode, our virtual stage takes us to the United Kingdom. The Monarch, Queen Elizabeth II, celebrated her 95th birthday a few days ago. She is the longest reigning Queen of England and the oldest current living monarch. It's the 23rd day of April. In England, they're celebrating St. George's Day today. St. George is the patron saint of England. The United Nations declared today as English Language Day. The UK is also the birthplace of famous poets and playwrights. Among them is William Shakespeare, who today we celebrate his birthday and his death anniversary as well. UNESCO declared today as World Book and Copyright Day. We are very much honored to have with us an Englishman who is a lover of books and world peace. Mr. Robin Marsh is a Secretary General of Universal Peace Federation UK, a global network of peace builders. Mr. Robin Marsh stands for peace, development, and faith. He believes in one family of humanity under a loving God, interdependence, mutual prosperity, and universal values, family, and human rights. Let us all welcome Mr. Robin Marsh. Welcome. Thank you for joining us here today, Mr. Robin Marsh.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
We are very honored that you could join us today. So, Mr. Robin Marsh, yes?
Thank you, Viva.
Thank you. Could you please give us a brief background about yourself and introduce to the world who is Mr. Robin Marsh? Take us on a journey that brought you to where you are today.
I was born in the 1950s, and I grew up in the UK. I went to a university to study finance, and I was all thinking about a good career and making a success and being very financially stable and doing well. But then at a certain point, I remember while I was at university, there was a lot of discussions going on in the university, and those discussions were not political discussions of left and right. It was more of which kind of left were you? And were you Trotskyite or you Leninist? Or there's so many of these kinds of discussions in university, and somehow it didn't quite answer all my questions. So I got into a number of other things like meditation and other uh, research of more internal things to try to understand my life and my purpose of my life. And I felt this sense of restlessness that each generation has to progress and do better than the generation before and better than the generation of their parents to bring a more just, more loving, more harmonious world. And I remember going on a retreat for a couple of weekends, I think, or 1 month. And when I came back from one of them, somehow I was looking at things differently, and I saw people differently. I saw the world kind of differently. It was like a paradigm shift within myself. And it was in that time that I really started searching desperately for what would be a meaningful life. That's do you want me to go further? Or?
It's
But that
okay.
was the start of my search.
So you said you saw life differently when you came from a retreat. So how has that impacted your life? What important lessons have you learned through that experience?
I started to see people's pain. Many people cover their hurt, their internal insecurities, their pain from many difficult experiences. They cover them well, but suddenly I started seeing who they really were, and I started looking at society and seeing that many of the structures of society were based on covering these things, these difficulties and hurts. And then I wanted to try to find a way to support, trying to help relieve these pains, or to help people when they were feeling these difficulties themselves. And that's when I stopped doing finance and accounting, and started looking for another way of life.
Okay, so Mr. Robin Marsh, you said you saw people's pain and how they covered them well. So in a way now with your life path, what you do is you help people ease their pain.
I think what I've focused on, yeah, is in a sense learning about how this people can grow internally, and I myself also had to grow and to overcome many things in myself, and then still got many things to change and to grow. But I found that we are, in a sense, like wounded healers. We're flawed ourselves, but we're trying to do something for the greater good, for the world, to make this world a better place, and to improve the world, like a relay race, passing on the baton to the next generation. We're doing our bit, doing our best we can, and then handing it over, and trying to make the environment, the way that people operate together within the world society, trying to make it better. And in a sense, that's why I'm involved with Universal Peace Federation, doing peace work, or that's why I've been doing many of the things I've been doing for many years.
So Mr. Robin Marsh, you in your own way, you want to help improve the world. And then, so what gives your life meaning? What's the best thing about being the Secretary General of Universal Peace Federation UK?
I think the founders of Universal Peace Federation, this is Father and Mother Moon, they also epitomize this desire and passion to change the world, and to make it more like a one family. And I, there are a number of initiatives that Universal Peace Federation has, which by participating, people work together on a project from different backgrounds, different races, different religions, and that helps us to also challenge our unconscious bias, because many times we have a bias and we don't know about it. And therefore, by working together, things come up and we realize it, we reflect, we realize actually what I'm feeling is actually not so good. And then we work on trying to improve it and seeing another person from a bigger mind, or from, we would like to see them, we would like to see everyone from God's viewpoint, God's perspective. And in that sense, these working with Universal Peace Federation's peace efforts it's been very helpful for me. It's helped me to broaden my mind and my perspective.
So, COVID has impacted the world. How is your being Secretary General of Universal Peace Federation affected by the ongoing coronavirus pandemic? What is the COVID situation there in the UK?
Well, the UK, like many countries, has suffered from COVID, and there have been many tragic family stories, and people have gone through a lot. We have had a number of rallies of hope, which have sought to show people that there are things to be hopeful for, that soon this will be over, and that we need to look to the future to build something better and bring out the best in many people. So we ourselves also have done many international things, like World Humanitarian Drive. You've done a lot of international conferences and efforts. We've done the same. So one minute I'm calling someone across London, another time I'm calling someone in Pakistan or in Morocco or different countries of Europe. The world really has become smaller, and through Zoom and through online conferences, we can really reach to the other end, to the extremes of the world, and bring it closer together, and we can understand more about other people's situations.
So, Mr. Robin Marsh, you've also been a part of many World Humanitarian Drive events. So WHD is very grateful for that. So yesterday was Earth Day, and it was also the first anniversary of World Humanitarian Drive's COVID Times poetry competition. So I was one of the winners of that, and you also hosted the online event. What is the experience like partnering with World Humanitarian Drive's events?
I met Dr. Abdul Basit Said maybe 3-4 years ago, and we did a number of things together. He went to India, and I introduced a number of people I knew in India that he met and engaged with, and the same in London. And he also introduced me to a number of his friends and his contacts who are really wonderful people. And during this time, he was thinking of World Humanitarian Drive, and he discussed it with me. And he has a restlessness to also make a difference. And I really admire that in him, and he does a lot of work each day. It's a lot into each day. So I've enjoyed supporting World Humanitarian Drive and being a partner with Universal Peace Federation. I'm a director now with World Humanitarian Drive, and he's a trustee of Universal Peace Federation UK. So we work together in partnership very well.
That's great to know. So let's talk about peace, because World Humanitarian Drive has a peace initiative. So in your opinion, what is the best way of achieving world peace? What would it take for the world to be more peaceful, in your opinion?
I think there's some very simple rules. One is the golden rule. It's so simple to um, to treat others the way you want to be treated. It's just so simple, and the simple things are the most difficult ones because again, we come across problems within ourselves that we didn't even know about. But to also explore such things as Universal Peace Federation talks about mutual prosperity, that we don't just work for ourselves, but we work to help the others also to benefit, to grow, to develop, to recognize our interdependence. We're not an island. Of course, England is an island, or the UK is an island, but actually we're not, this independent, alone person. We need relationships to really fulfill ourselves. We need many wonderful relationships where we're in mutual partnership, mutual prosperous relationships. And we also need to practice universal values which keep an order in our relationships and keep an order in our world. But peace needs to be based on these simple principles. But I think also we can't solve peace without a sense of the divine, and the divine presence within us, that it holds us in common, and it's not exclusive, or no religion has a monopoly on the divine, but we can recognize the divinity in each other. And then if that happened, we would have peace.
So these are these are COVID times, and there's a lot of fear, a lot of pain, confusion in the world. So this next question will be helpful to our virtual audience. What are tips you would like to share on cultivating inner peace? What is the key to inner peace?
I think our faith is important, that we have a strong faith that guides us, helps us to deal with difficulties and challenges, even tragedies, but helps us to show that there is a purpose to life. And it gives us the reason to continue when times are difficult, or we've gone through a very difficult experience. There are many tragedies at the moment, but also there are many things to look forward to when we get to this post-COVID time, looking so much forward to meeting old friends and to be able to meet in person. Another thing is to find a deeper place within ourselves, which where we can reflect, and where we can find an inner calm. And at that place, we can get many inspirations in how to solve problems that we're facing, how to work more effectively, and how to be more considerate and kind to others. I think COVID or pandemics of the past were also times when great inventions and realizations were made. I was just reading about, I think it was Thomas Newton, who came up with many things during a pandemic time in lockdown himself. So there is a lot to look forward to.
We have a question from a virtual audience. His name is Dongi Gra, and his question to you is, how do you keep positive and motivated during this pandemic?
I think myself, it's been so valuable to have these online conferences, this Zoom technology, not just Zoom, but this online technology, which allows us to maintain our relationships, even we're in lockdown, that we can communicate with others. WhatsApp also, to have free telephone calls to speak to anyone in the world. It's amazing. in that way, we haven't been as cut off as in the past, and we haven't been as threatened as a world population as this time of the Spanish flu or the Black Plague or the bubonic plague, where we had no idea what was going on. Now, through the modern science, we've been able to face these problems with greater hope that there is going to be a time, where it's 6 months, it's a year, when this is finished, when we're over it. And meanwhile, let's use this time to prepare, to study, to learn new skills, to use our time for also meditation, reflection, researching our faith, deepening our relationships with our family, with our friends. There's always a way we can use this time that we have effectively and positively.
I think this is a follow-up question by a viewer, Win from the Philippines. So what has the pandemic taught you? What are the lessons that you've learned from this pandemic?
One is that we have to be humble. We are people who are not invincible. We are people who have to acknowledge that there are greater things than ourselves around. We have to live in harmony with the natural world around us. I think in the future we will become stronger and stronger against future pandemics, but only if we learn to live in harmony with the natural world around us, and we develop our scientific knowledge. But also that we have to, one amazing lesson from the pandemic is no one is safe till everyone is safe. So if you're in a wealthy nation, and we are maybe fortunate to be in a wealthier nation, and maybe we might be vaccinated before other nations, but actually no one is safe till everyone is safe. So we have to push for our governments to help many other countries also to be vaccinated, also through Gavi, through other international efforts, that we can help many nations who are less economically developed also to be safe.
So we have another question about meditation. Somebody's asking, Tonggi Graf from the Philippines. So what do you usually meditate on? Maybe he's just asking for meditation tips. Do you have any meditation tips you'd like to share?
Prayer and meditation are like two sides of the coin. I think meditation, Father Moon once he said, meditation makes your heart big and it allows you to pray more deeply. Myself, I was inspired by an older Korean person I worked with. He was one of my bosses in the past. And he used to have a diagram with many goals in front of him. And he would just look at it for hours and reflect on it. And when he was reflecting, then insights would come. And sometimes when you go to a deeper place in yourself, when your mind becomes very big, then when you reflect on something, insights come. Connections of one area of your life to another emerge. A conversation that you need to have with someone about something you need to do. Many inspirations come, and then afterwards, when you write them down quickly. But I find that both prayer and meditation help fulfill goals and make our work more effective. We can work hard, but actually this time of meditation, the time of taking maybe a walk in nature, sometimes many inspirations come when you're doing something different from your hard work, and suddenly something clicks. And that's what I find from meditation. But yes, find your own way of meditating, because there are many different ways, and I'm not going to talk too much. But visualizing also, I think, is very valuable for goals. When you visualize something that you want to happen, sometimes I wanted to meet someone, and I couldn't get hold of them, and I would visualize meeting them, and sometimes I would just see them sometimes shopping, or walking in the corridors of the House of Parliament when I was working there. You'd meet that person, or walking down the street, and just miraculously it would happen. So all of these facets are aspects of a life of faith, but also aspects of human life and working and fulfilling our goals.
Thank you for your meditation tips. So visualization does work. When it comes to Universal Peace Federation, what are you most proud of?
What I love is being able to invest in this sense of us being one human race. So one day we were helping a project for Congolese women and human rights. There were human rights abuses that they were suffering in eastern Congo, and we were lobbying parliamentarians. We were doing many different things. The next day, I might be doing something much more practical or close to home in the UK, working with helping someone solve a problem by telling them which parliamentarian maybe they should talk to, or how they could get advice about this or that from the right people. On Monday, for example, we're going to do something on a Japanese-Korean undersea tunnel and talk about infrastructure projects. It's so broad, but it gives you a sense of humankind as this broad, complex family of humanity, which is so broad and so wide that it broadens our mind to work with all of these people, and we can see the common aspects and the common situations that they have, but also we can understand the differences of culture a little bit by working in each of these areas. But Universal Peace Federation, universal is a very big word, and therefore we find ourselves getting involved in many different areas and having to know a little about a lot of things.
So Universal Peace Federation, it broadens your mind, your horizon, and also you also get to know more about different cultures as well.
Yes.
So
it's so wonderful to see the rich diversity of humanity. One time we were experiencing Mongolian culture and attending a hearing from a Mongolian national singer in headquarters. Next day, I went with a few of them to celebrate a Mongolian National Day, and they were doing wrestling, which is their national sport. Another time, there was a Philippine UK cultural event that we held, and the Philippine embassy came, and so on. It's just amazing. Sometimes I went to receptions from countries in South America. And I lived in America for a while. I lived in South Korea. Understanding the breadth of humanity and the different ways cultures relate. Every time you can see difference, it challenges you to think and to broaden your perspective and to understand how a culture works. The UK, the way it works is very different to South Korea or the Oriental culture, Confucian-based culture. So these things we can always learn and reflect from.
Those are really interesting experiences with Universal Peace Federation. So it's also World Book Day today. What book have you read that changed your life?
I I really like books that have a deeper meaning, and therefore there's a number of books I read, but I love the idea of C.S. Lewis. You know, in children's stories, he was putting so much of different aspects of lessons of Christianity. Tolkien uh, created a whole genre of values and ethics within a whole new world that he had created based on this need to bring values into human life and discourse. One book that we have here is called World Scripture, a comparative anthology of sacred texts. Sorry. This was this is an initiative of founders of UPF, Father and Mother Moon. They want to get every religious thought on different points of faith, of humility, of worship, of devotion, of different aspects of a life of faith. And it had an eminent editorial board. It took a long time to write. But if you look at it, you can see so much commonality between people of different faiths. And you can see the more the unity of the human family. So that, for me, was an extremely inspiring book.
Thank you for sharing that inspiring book with us. I'm sure they're going to be checking it out as well. So it's also St. George's Day today. St. George is the patron saint of England. I think he's also the patron saint of Venice, Genoa, Portugal, Ethiopia, Catalonia.
Georgia.
Yeah, and Georgia too. So, and Catalan, because it's St. George's Day today, it's also Lover's Day, their equivalent of Valentine's Day. Wow. So, what is the significance of St. George's Day to you? And how will you celebrate it this year?
I think St. George, actually, he never came to the UK, but he was one of the Christian martyrs who was loyal to his faith and kept his faith strong even in the face of persecution. And eventually he died in one of the Roman persecutions of Christianity. So I will remember him for his great loyalty to his faith beyond life. That the phrase of Saint Paul, "Death, where is thy sting?" He had definitely learned or inherited such a deep faith.
Thank you also for sharing us more info about St. George too. We have viewers from different parts of the world. We have viewers from Australia, Dubai, Bangladesh, Philippines. So many of our viewers have not been to the UK yet. This would be a great opportunity for them to know more about your country. Could you please share with us what you love most about the UK?
I think the United Kingdom is in many ways has been blessed, and we've had in many years of stability and peace and functioning democracy. I really loved the aspects of this country where it's sacrificed and served other countries. So I love, for example, even though there have been questions about blood clots and so on, but I love the fact that Professor Sarah Gilbert appeared on BBC about a year ago about the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine and said, this is not a commercial project. This is a global health initiative. You know, it's this, her work, her academic work and the team around her was for the world. I loved also Tim Berners-Lee. So Tim Berners-Lee initiated the World Wide Web. And in the London Olympics, it was there. This is for all of you. It's free. So he could have made a fortune out of the World Wide Web. He could have rented it out, or could have had a certain percentage on everyone using it any day. You know, even a small percentage, he would be a multimillionaire, maybe billionaire. But he wanted to give it to everyone for free. I love that aspect of the UK. In the past, we did have 10,000 missionaries going out at any one time. And I think, in a sense, that foundation is a good one, that we should live for the sake of others and try to make this world of mutual prosperity, of interdependence, and universal values.
It's just amazing to reflect on the contribution of the UK to the world. Which brings us to the final question that we usually ask our special guests. What is your inspiring message to the world?
I think it's a simple one that every faith has, you know. Plus the golden rule is that such a basic rule to treat others the way that you want to be treated, but to go beyond that, to live for the sake of others, then something mysterious comes into your life. When you give without thinking of what you've given, something always comes back, and it's usually from a divine perspective, we imagine, but it's usually very wise. And when you reflect on it, it's probably what you needed. And I have so many different examples, but I don't have time to talk about it. Yeah, but it's true on an individual level, it's true on a family level, it's true on a group level, but it's also true on a national level. If you live for the sake of others and you have a big mind, that will always come back to you. And it will come back in mysterious ways, but it will make your life so much more meaningful. And you will have great joy in your life.
Thank you so much, Mr. Robin Marsh, for honoring us with your presence, sharing your inspiring story, words of wisdom. Thank you for joining us here today. Mr.
Thank
Robin
you very
Marsh.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you
We're very honored.
Thank you for the opportunity. I'm honored too. Thank you.
Thank you so much also for the contributions, the help you give World Humanitarian Drive as well.
I'm honored to. Thank you. God bless and have a great week.
Thank you so much, Mr. Robin Marsh, Secretary General of Universal Peace Federation UK. We would like to share a quotation by John Lennon. Peace is not something you wish for. It's something you make, something you do, something you are, and something you give away. The best place to find peace is within ourselves. When we cultivate inner peace, we are able to share it with the world. No matter what our religion is, let's unite and pray for all those in need of our prayers. This has been World Humanitarian Drive's Inspiring Millions show. If today's discussion inspired you, please share the link with your family and friends. Share with us your takeaways from today. Follow us on our social media accounts. Click subscribe on our YouTube channel. Visit our WHD website, www.whd.org.uk for more inspiring events. Stay safe and healthy, everyone. To our frontliners, we salute you. We thank you for your hard work, sacrifices, and dedication to humanity. On behalf of WHD team, especially those working behind the scenes, WHD Chairman Dr. Abdul Basit Saeed, WHD Director of Global Operations, Ms. Sarah Wilson, WHD's 12th Honorable Secretary Generals, we thank you, our virtual audience from around the world, for joining us. Happy English Language Day, Shakespeare Day, World Book and Copyright Day, St. George's Day. To all those celebrating their birthdays and special milestones this week, happy celebrations. Have a wonderful weekend, everyone. I'm Viva Andrade O'Flynn. Please join us again next Friday. We will have a discussion with the worshipful Mayor of Croydon, Councillor Maddie Hansen, as we inspire the world here on Inspiring Millions Show.